Hello again. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about why this is an entire publishing project, not just one book, Dragon in the Post. And it's for both young and older readers. So you might tell a younger friend, an older friend, and come in and back this project. Really, I want to tell you about the next project, which will launch as soon as Dragon in the Post is finished, maybe even beforehand. I'm going to call that Looking for Edmund, Finding Shakespeare's Brother, all about the story of William Shakespeare's youngest brother, Edmund, who was a player in London in the 16th century and died in the hard winter months of 1607. But first, let me show you something. This is a photocopy from the National Archives in London. And as you can see, it's written in that scrawling, spidery Elizabethan hand, which is almost impossible to decipher. You can go blind trying to get to the truth of these documents. What that is actually a land piece of a tavern in London, in Southwark, near where I live, called the Vine. And it's recorded in the token books of Southwark Cathedral that that's where Edmund was sometime in 1607, the year that he died. It's the Vine that gave a vital link to mapping an area that we know so little about, because there are very few records pre-Reformation. It was really the restructuring of the church under Henry VIII that started all those registers of christenings, weddings and funerals, and can give glimpses of ordinary lives, real lives in London. It doesn't tell you much about Edmund Shakespeare. There are only 6 records of his life. So it's a kind of unrecorded story, an unrecorded biography I'm trying to get at. But it does tell you that the name of this tavern owner was Edward Hunt. And looking back in the records in the Metropolitan Archive in London, scouring for months and months and months, I eventually found a tiny scrap of paper that proved the lease, which is just minute, of this Vine Tavern, had once belonged to a group of church wardens at a local church called St Margaret's, that called themselves the Brotherhood of Our Lady of Assumption, and they were incorporated in the year 1449 as a brotherhood under the reign of King Henry VI, who was that saintly mad king at the beginning of the Wars of the Roses, who was also written about in one of Shakespeare's very first trilogies, the Henry VI trilogy. So it's all very tantalising stuff. And the thing about history is the whole thing is fascinating detective work, because you begin to get intimations of other things and gradually build up this picture which gains more and more authority. For instance, the scandal that happened at St Saviour's Church, Southwark Cathedral, when the vestry rose to something like 80 strong, and the local parish, thriving on this gambling culture, brothel culture and theatre land, they were clearly making a lot of money. And one of those characters was Philip Henslowe, who built the Rose, the Hope, the Fortune Theatre, and was Shakespeare's great rival. And his son-in-law was that other rival actor, Edward Allen. And you realise that the church wardens had to close ranks against a district in Southwark that was known for kind of outlaw liberty status, and was complaining about their abuse of poor laws and money in the bag and things like that. And there was even a mooted act in Parliament to try and reform it. But then the whole area in Southwark, dominated by Southwark Cathedral, but also the Bishop of Winchester's palace, famously licensing brothels in the area, became persona non grata, and one of the great contested controversies of the Reformation. It's why Winchester House was also turned into tenements and kept that way after the Civil War by special act of Parliament. The detective story gets bigger and bigger once you start and go looking for Edmund. So much has been written on Shakespeare, it could fill vast libraries, and of course he's always pushed down our throats in schools and universities and high schools. This is Harold Bloom's Shakespeare, the Invention of the Human, which is a fantastic work of criticism, but it was also a huge work of scholarship. Now, the players said of Shakespeare that he wasn't a scholar, and I'm not really a scholar either, although I think I have the capacity for scholarship, and I've been careful about the work I've done. But the question was, what kind of book did I really want to bring out? Do I want to bring out? Is it Shakespeare's Brother? Is it Looking for Edmund? Is it a work about Shakespeare's art and writing? Because it's Shakespeare's extraordinary consciousness in his plays and sonnets and poetry that always invades any work you try to do on the period and on somebody so close to him, Edmund, his youngest brother. The answer, of course, is something that is entirely different. It's free form and is about the search itself, which is a kind of wonderful detective story. And so the book is becoming Looking for Edmund, which is about the time and the records and the plays and the problems of piecing together a history we don't really know. But it's also about the amazing and sometimes very eccentric people I encountered on this search for Edmund Shakespeare. How I made a complete fool of myself too, marching into the Shakespeare Institute in Stratford and claiming that I'd found a reference to a lost play by England's second greatest dramatist of the period, Ben Jonson, a contemporary of Shakespeare's, who worked with him, probably at the Swan Theatre. It turned out that the record referred to Mr. Johnson, the scrivener, and I knew it because Professor Martin Wiggins at the Institute kindly pointed out that a play of the period was worth probably about £6 of the amount paid in Philip Henslow's diaries, for instance. So that set things to rights. But in a sense, it didn't matter because Mr. Johnson, the scrivener, working by Southwark Cathedral, was just as interesting a figure as all the people involved in a poorhouse that was founded there, Cures College, and people dropping in 1603 in the street of the Plague or by the church wall. You begin to get the texture of the times, and sometimes it can be quite frightening looking for Edmund and looking for them all. The reason I think Looking for Edmund could be a smash hit for Phoenix Art Press is because it's more colloquial. It's just my attempt to look at scholarship. Programs like Do You Know Who You Are? The difficulty of records, the difficulty of scholarship. In a sense, trying to push through that wall of hero worship about Shakespeare, much as I hero worship the master. But I want to get to the reality of him and his times and of London and of whatever happened to his brother. But also because, of course, 1616 was Shakespeare's death. And so in 2 years' time is the 400th anniversary. So back this project. Do it now or keep it in mind for the future after Dragon in the Post. But tell other people about it, and it would be wonderful if we can get many projects off the ground together. So let's go looking for Edmund together. Back this project, support a publisher. I'll support other ideas out there, writers, artists, poets, readers, bringing everyone together and producing books of great quality and interest and sending them to you in the post. Back the project, come on board, join the story, become part of the adventure.